Lee Mazel is passionate about her work in Eastern Africa. Each year she volunteers in a small community outside Gulu in a war-torn area of northern Uganda. Lee has been building houses there, teaching in schools, and helping with a clean water project. She also sponsors and keeps a very close relationship with 2 children there. Now we meet Lee in her home on Galliano Island in British Columbia, Canada. She is adamant that nothing will stop her working there for as long as she can practically continue. So we ask her, why does she leave this haven of safety, quiet, and stunning beauty to help these desperate children that have suffered extreme atrocities?
I was in Gulu last year. I loved it up there. I loved the children and the people. And outside of Gulu, we go to a village, a Watoto village, and they're doing a clean water project. They started one last year, and they want to continue it this year. And so this suits me just fine because I'm getting past digging in the mud with my rubber boots, but I have always worked with children, and I will be working with the children in the school again. And I'll be maybe working in the baby home, which has just been started, and I'll be visiting villages, and the villages are very poor. And it's interesting knowing the history of Gulu. I have no fear up there. I just, to be up there, to know what has gone on, and to see, for example, the villages like Watoto that are helping the children who have been orphaned through the fighting, through perhaps some AIDS, and to work with the people. It's what I love to do. That's why I'm going back up there again. You know, you don't have to put a lot of yourself out. You really don't, because they're such beautiful people. And when people talk to me about Uganda, I talk about Uganda. But if you're going to go in and do any good for the people, you have to put that sadness away. You have to let that go, because you're no good to the people if you're walking around crying all day. That's no good. You need to come in, you need to go ahead and do what you came to do. I visited an orphanage there, and I was actually very interested to see the disabled children, because I did work with disabled children. I saw the place which they call a center for children who are a direct result of the war. That's shocking. You see young men who are maybe now might be 16 to 18 who were child warriors, child soldiers, and they had no choice. They were just taken from their families. That's shocking. And to see the children in that center who watched their parents being murdered, and being murdered in really horrible ways, terrible, terrible ways. And to go to an IDP camp, which is a displaced persons camp, which has now been emptied of quite a lot of the people, but the people who are left behind are disabled, they're old, they don't know where they belong. There are children who are a result of the raping that went on during the war. They don't know where they came from. They don't know where they can go. Sometimes the communities, the villages, don't want to take these people because they don't belong to them. So they are left to be, if they're lucky enough, to go to an IDP camp. And when I say luck, it's not very lucky. The IDP camp was a terrible shock. It was a terrible shock to see the children who are hungry, who have only what they have on their bodies. They have no other clothing. They're barefooted. The people are barefoot, and they get terrible things called jiggers in their feet, which means that some of them can hardly walk. I am impressed by the wonderful, wonderful faith these people have. They have so much faith, so much hope. You know, how could I not? I don't need big things. I never ever have. And I wasn't brought up that way. I was brought up in a small town on the prairies and then into Saskatoon. My folks were regular, ordinary people.